Nick Saban versus, well, everybody. Nick Saban called out Texas A&M, who finished with the number 1 recruiting class in the country, 6 5-stars, which beats out Alabama's. And, of course, Nick Saban came out and said that Texas A&M bought every one of their kids. With name, image, and likeness, that is essentially what has happened. It's not really about name, image, and likeness. It's about pay for play, or actually pay to sign. Then Saban said this about Jackson State and Miami.
The NCAA doesn't get some protection from litigation, whether we got to get an antitrust or whatever it is. From a federal government standpoint, this is not going to change because they cannot enforce their rules, just like Nate said. We have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to the school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it. I mean, these guys at Miami that are going to play basketball there for $400,000, it's in the newspaper. The guy tells you how he's doing it. But the NCAA can't enforce their rules because it's not against the law.
This is Deion Sanders. He responded on Twitter, "You best believe I will address the lie Coach Saban told. I was awakened by my son," which is quarterback, sent me an article stating that we paid Travis Hunter Jr. $1 million to play at Jackson State. We as a people don't have to pay our people to play with our people. Oh, man. Wait, if you think that was, listen to what Nick Saban had to say about Texas A&M.
We were second in recruiting last year. A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team. Made a deal for name, image, and likeness. All right, we didn't buy one player. All right, but I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it.
All right, I'll get to what I think he's saying there, well, actually what he means there, not what he's saying, in a second. Here's Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher. These are the money quotes that are going around. Here's Jimbo Fisher responding earlier today.
First of all, I'll say it's a shame that we have to do this. It's really despicable. It's despicable that somebody can say things about somebody and an organization. More importantly, 17-year-old kids. You're taking shots at 17-year-old kids and their families. And they broke state laws. They're all money. We bought every player on this group. We never bought anybody. No rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong. It was all in the way we do things, the ethics in which we do things. And these families, it's despicable that a reputable head coach could come out and say this when he doesn't get his way or things don't go his way. The narcissist in him doesn't allow those things to happen, and it's ridiculous. But when he's not on top, and the parity in college football he's been talking about, go talk to coaches who coach for him. You'll find out all the parity. Go dig into wherever he's been. You can find out anything. And it's a shame that you got to sit here and defend 17-year-old kids and families. And Texas A&M, because we do things right, we're always going to do things right. But we're always going to be here. Some people think they're God. Go dig into how God did his deal. You may find out about a guy that a lot of things you don't want to know. We built him up to be the czar of football. Go dig into his past or anybody that's ever coached with him. You can find out anything you want to find out, what he does and how he does it. And it's despicable.
Unbelievable. This is where we have arrived in college football. Unbelievable. First of all, they're all full of crap. Okay? They're all full of crap, including Saban. Now, do I think that Saban himself has been arranging name, image, and likeness deals for years? No. Is there a popular assumption that Nick Saban has been finding ways to get his boosters to take care of kids? Sure. Right. But let's start with the Jimbo Fisher. Okay? Jimbo Fisher is, I think, the most full of it of anybody because nothing Nick Saban said was inaccurate. They have, in fact, found ways to funnel money to every player they signed, especially the top kids they signed. They've found big money for. Do I think everybody's getting as much as is being reported? Of course not. Of course not. But dudes are getting paid, and all those guys at A&M got paid. It's like this is not a state-kept secret. Is it ethical? Is it legal? Yeah. Technically, there's ways in which they can make it legal. Is it ethical? that just depends on where you stand on ethics. It just is. It's where you stand on ethics. But there was no accusations of state law. Like Jimbo's just taking and making stuff up. Right? Then he talks about parody, which does feel like a bit of a farce that Saban's talking about it. But I don't even understand what Fisher's so mad. He's using the word parody in a way it doesn't make any sort of sense. And he literally sounds like he's blathering about something instead of what I think he's doing, which is scorched earth. I won't return his call. We're done. The other part to it is this. This is Nick Saban is doing what Saban always does. It's a call to arms. I don't know if we're going to be able to compete with some of these guys. I just don't know. You know what that sounds like to me? Go back to 2009. This is, 13 years ago. Okay? Nick Saban was talking about the spread offense. Take a listen.
Well, I think the spread is difficult to defend, and I think there's some definite benefits to it. But, I also have a 13-page letter in my office from an NFL general manager about we can't evaluate quarterbacks because they don't do what we need them to do in the NFL. So for all these people who play that offense, they're not really developing quarterbacks that have an opportunity to develop a career as a football player. In some people's view. That's not my view. I'm just telling you, I got a letter about that, a long one. And also about trying to evaluate offensive linemen who never get in a three-point stance and always play in a two-point stance, and all they do is pass block and zone block and run the edge. And
right? Have you noticed an evolution? Have you noticed an evolution in Nick Saban's offense since then? By the way, he's had plenty of star quarterbacks get drafted in the first round, and guess what they're running at times? Some spread offense. Yeah, let's talk about player safety with it. Right. Nick Saban was so concerned about the development of quarterbacks and of offensive linemen. Meanwhile, they've been the number one developer. You had three guys in the same backfield at the same time that are starting quarterbacks in the National Football League now that all ran the spread, some version of the spread. And the entire offensive lines in the league as well. You go to the transfer portal, which he didn't like. Now, of course, they're accepting transfers. Now it's NIL. And guess what it means? It's a call to all those Alabama fans. And he's telling them, look, if you want to continue what we're doing, then you're going to have to one-up Texas A&M. Because everyone knows that A&M has to do something above and beyond in order to get kids, especially from out of the area that aren't Aggies, that didn't grow up kind of in the Texas A&M family or aren't, military families, because they got a big ROTC culture, that they got to find a different way to get those top-level kids. Saban is the absolute master at all this, right? He's the master. He controls the media and the narrative. And, oh, yeah, by the way, motivates his boosters to always be one step ahead of everybody else. Saban's gotten everything he's wanted out of all this. Meanwhile, he made Jimbo, look like, one, a liar, and two, kind of he's blathering. Listen, Jimbo can say, and, hey, nothing that was done here was illegal. It was all legal, and we believe ethical. But please don't sit here and lie to us telling us that those kids didn't get paid. That's just it's not laughable. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So I don't think Saban in any way is flustered or frustrated. He knows how this thing is going to play out and work. Okay, he's going to use the transfer portal, and instead of redshirting guys at Alabama that might or might not be good enough, or even playing guys at Alabama early on their freshman year when you're going to lose guys, he can just cherry pick. And whoever the best of the best are, we allow you to vet them for us, and then you send them to us. And, oh, yeah, by the way, then we're going to have to be prepared for name, image, and likeness and funnel these kids some money the way that everybody else is. Nick Saban's always going to get his way. He knows what he's doing, and it does feel like calling out A&M got him everything he wanted. Don't get me wrong, Jimbo is a good football coach, and they got a lot of dudes. But how many years has A&M had a lot of dudes and hasn't figured out a way to win? I'll tell you this. I don't believe A&M will beat our overtaken Alabama, even though they're going to have top-end talent as freshmen. The problem with that is, one, if you're paying those kids, okay, you got to play them earlier. If you're a top bidder, you don't always go with the top bidder, right? But those kids go with the top bidder, and one, you're going to have to play them before they're ready, which is okay in college football because they got to stay 3 years. But if they're not happy, they're gone. They don't like the system, they're gone. They don't like the school, they're gone. They don't like the culture, they're gone. Or they'll ask for more money, and it'll never stop. But Texas A&M would be at its best if they took Texas A&M kind of dudes that were all in on the culture, all in on what they're doing. That's the part that lasts the most. Still high-level talent, but you go the top of the absolute, the top of the top, that doesn't always work. Usually it doesn't work. So I'm fascinated by this. Byron, what's your take on Saban versus Jimbo?
I think that it's your assessment is very, very, very accurate. I, too, would be mad if I was Jimbo Fisher in that I'm getting called out, and it looks like Saban. So, I understand his angst on it. I don't know if I would go as far as he did, but I can understand where it came from. And the final point is there is no doubt, absolutely positively no doubt, no question whatsoever that the 13-page letter came from Bill Belichick. Because only Bill Belichick would write a 13-page letter on how the spread quarterback does not fit in the National Football League. There is zero doubt in my mind that that's who the letter came from.
By the way, Bill Belichick's quarterback, where did he go to school?
Alabama. How about that Keith Jackson bad imitation there?
That was not bad. That was not
All
bad.
right.
That was not bad. Alabama. I can't do it really. Alabama. I love it. I love it. This, by the way, if you're below the Mason-Dixon or if you're in a college sports town, I guarantee this is all anybody's talking about. And this is really, really good stuff.